It happened last night, Halloween, and yes, I know that sounds like a setup for a bad joke, but it's true. I am 42, and I live alone in a split-level house at the end of a small, one-way subdivision that feels wooden and hollow at night. Earlier, the neighborhood had been full of kids in glowing masks and paper capes. By 10:30, the street had settled down and the house felt like the last thing on earth awake. I was on the couch, half watching the TV and half listening to the house breathe. The radiator clicked. The outside gutter sighed. Then, sudden and stupidly bright in the quiet, someone pounded the front door with a steady animal rhythm that punched the boards and rattled the glass. The sound made my teeth vibrate. My heart did something unfamiliar, not just alarm, but a small, obedient panic. I slid down behind the spider plant by the window, leaves brushing my cheek like hands. From my perch, I could see nothing at first except for an SUV in the driveway, black and patient, its hazards blinking a tired orange. Halloween at the curb. Parents, kids, cars, same script. My own house folded inward, a stage set. My living room is raised about 10 feet off the ground. The basement windows run half above the soil, like a lantern buried in the yard. In my head, horror movies started cueing, playing different versions of how this night might end. I remembered the sliding patio door in my office. It had a temperamental latch that sometimes refused to lock. I told myself I was being prudent as I crept lower into the house, down the stairs, into the part that smelled faintly of mold and old coffee. I grabbed a piece of scrap wood and jammed it into the door track. The wood was rough in my palms, splinters biting my skin. The house felt louder, as if the boards were listening. As I came up the stairs, there were two loud bangs against the small basement window that faces the side yard, sharp like knuckles on a tombstone. I flinched, dropped the plank, jammed the door, closed the blinds. I zipped the light off as I climbed back up, letting the living room fall into a safe, granular black. The SUV rolled away, slow and careful, as if the driver was watching to see how I moved. For an hour, I sat with the curtains drawn, pretending to be a statue, watching for anything out of the corner of my eye. The clock ticked. The house was a drum. Then came the lights across the ceiling. A halo of headlights crept over the plaster like a hand. The SUV had returned, backing up the incline so its bumper nearly touched the front step, close enough that if someone had leaned out of the window, they could have knocked on the glass with their knuckles. The engine was a steady whisper. No one got out. No one pressed a face to the visor. The vehicle just sat there, heartbeat pulsing an orange strobe. I dialed 911 with shaking fingers and told them the earlier pounding and the car. I was on my knees behind the spider plant, watching the shadows move, listening to my own breathing turn rural and ragged. The SUV reversed slowly and drove away, leaving a thin trail of cold air in its wake. 20 minutes passed. Then I saw a patrol car swing through the subdivision, and shortly after, my landlord, a wiry man with more keys than sense, heading out to fetch his mail. I cracked the door and stepped into a night that smelled like wet leaves and tire rubber. My neighbor's porch light painted the street a soft syrup yellow. I made the walk to them, feeling absurdly exposed. My throat was dry. When I opened my front door again, to step outside, there was a note taped to the inside of it, centered like a proclamation. In blocky, hurried black marker, it said, "Derek, we're going to kill you!" I laughed, the sound of a person who wants the joke to be funny. I do not know a Derek. I am not a Derek. My name is not on any of my mail as a Derek, and my landlord swore he has never rented to a Derek and has never heard the name mentioned in this little cul-de-sac of patched lawns. The note had been calculated, as if someone had rehearsed the exact way it would land on me. After the knocks, after the SUV, after I'd locked the sliding door with wet splinters in my hands, it fit too neatly into the night. The deputy who had come returned with his bloodless professionalism and asked the courteous, terrible questions. Do you owe someone money? Anyone want to hurt you? Any affairs? Who is Derek? I told him no, no, and no. He took the note, bagged it like evidence of a small private crime, and promised that they'd keep a cruiser in the area. The landlord put his arm around my shoulder like reassurance and offered to bolt better locks. I slept near the living room window with the lights on in the hall, awake to the house's ordinary sounds that suddenly seemed like language. Morning brought a thin light and a cold that had sunk into my bones. My office, where the jammed sliding door is, felt like the inside of a refrigerator. I opened the blinds and found the sliding door had been nudged open about 4 inches. The wooden wedge I had jammed into the track had been forced back. There were small scuff marks on the wood, like fingernails, trying to grip something smooth and failing. The thing that sits with me now is not the dents in the gate or the note. It's the way the house listened that night, how every little sound seemed to take on intention. I am left to wonder whether the next time someone bangs, they will be knocking for Derek or for me.